Proposed changes to mental health, sleep apnea, and tinnitus. They may take these away. Sleep apnea going away. Will they take your rating? No, no. Let's get down to the facts because a lot of people want to talk a lot on these social media channels without any context or proof of a thing. So let's go to the actual thing. This is the email that came out February 2022 talking about the changes and hyperlinks to these changes. These are the proposed changes that I'm going to touch on very quickly. And again, nothing's going away. Changes happen. You adapt, you overcome. I'm sure you heard that in the military. So the very first thing is this. This was introduced, as you see here, comment was for to be back by April of 2022, right? So this came out, as I said earlier, February 22, 2022, right? Now, to go a little bit further, because everybody's talking about when is this going to take effect? Or I think this, or I think that. It's in the daggone. Let's go right into it. So, if you actually open up the proposed changes, it actually tells you details. Crazy concept. View more documents. What does it take you to? Here, click on the unified agenda. Crazy concept. Look at what we have here. These things were put out February 15, 2022. Comment period ended April 2022. Final action has to happen by June 2024. Oh, I think changes are coming in the summer of It's the daggone final action date. If it gets approved and passed, it comes to fruition after that. If it doesn't get approved and passed, they have to start the process all over again. End the video. Cut it. Subscribe, follow, like. I'm telling you, we'll move on. So that's what the facts are when it comes to this, right? This is both for the proposed changes to ear, nose, throat, audiology disabilities. The same exact thing for the mental health disability part of the house. February 2022, it came out. Commentary period ends April 2022, and final action has to happen by June 2024, right? And if you look here on the left, you actually see the details. So right now, both of these changes, the proposed, are in final rule stage. But there's a few more rules. So the first one is pre-rule stage, proposed rule stage, final rule stage, long-term actions, and then completed actions. So it's still going through the process. It's the government. So things take time. So that's the first part there. So quickly, because again, this can be a deep dive onto itself, but the changes. So when it comes to these changes here specifically, let's look at the ear, nose side of the house. So I highlighted some things because, again, it's very lengthy. But when it comes to sleep apnea, here is the proposed change. They're not taking it away. They're just looking at modernizing sleep apnea and retitling it sleep apnea syndromes, right? And when it comes to other things like tinnitus, how they are rating those things also will be looked at, right? So we'll talk about those things. First and foremost here, when treatment is either ineffective for a veteran, prescribe 50%. Let's break that down. So we're going to go all the way down to the rating criteria. And we'll come back here for the tinnitus part after this. So going all the way down, because again, there's a whole lot of stuff in here, but this is the proposed changes for sleep apnea. So that's the very first thing, right? So sleep apnea right here. I'll show it to you now. So these are the proposed changes, but first let's look at the current sleep apnea, the way it's set up. So it'll make more sense. Currently, it's rated under 6847, and it's pretty simple. If we have hypersomnolence, 30%. If a CPAP is required, 50%. And then if we have pulmonary failure and so forth and whatnot, chronic respiratory failure, 100%. Most veterans are in this part right here, right? Requiring breathing assistant device, such as a CPAP, award 50%, right? And that's the key word here, required medical use. Now, the change proposed looks at the 50 and says that the treatment is ineffective as determined by the sleep study or unable to use the treatment due to a comorbid conditions and without an organ failure. What does that mean in English? It's in the red. If we have instances where a veteran has a CPAP that is ineffective to treat their sleep apnea, or they cannot adhere to a sleep apnea medication for a variety of reasons, i.e., things like dermatitis, issues with the face, having missing limbs, or having anything that prevents you from wearing the CPAP. Many veterans say that I can't sleep when I take it off, I have claustrophobia, whatever the case may be. There's a reason why the treatment is ineffective. If the treatment is ineffective or you are unable to conform to it, 50%. The change, medically acquired, to it's not effective. The end. Stop the fear mongering. Argue to the point of whether or not it's effective or not. Half of y'all don't use it because it's not effective as is. So you still meet the requirement. Okay, there's that. Going to tinnitus, same thing. Biggest change on the tinnitus side of the house, as I scroll up very quickly, is they're moving it under the hearing loss side of the house instead of a standalone thing, the way it used to be before. That's the bluff at the end of the day. Not going away, just how they're treating it as part of the hearing loss side of the house. Now, going very quickly over to the mental health side of the house, the changes here, looking at the Institute of Medicine updates, the latest medical ways of looking at things, and the updates. So here, instead of just looking at how things have been in the DSM-5, they're adding now the WHO 2.0. And what does that mean in English? Let's go down to it. They're looking at how things are affecting you along ranges. So instead of keywords of how things are looked at for rating purposes, again, I'll show it to you here in the current rating criteria. So I'll bring up the mental health rating criteria just to be able to give you kind of a comparison from one to the other. So we'll scroll down to mental health. We'll go to rating criteria. And you've all seen this, right? Symptoms such as this, that, the third. Got it. And everybody thinks that keywords are a thing because it sounds cool when a YouTuber says keywords. Let me not make that gesture. It's not about keywords. It's about your symptoms. It's about your truth. It's about your reality. So the WHO 2.0 looks at that. We're looking at now how this affects you along 6 different domains. Example, understanding, communicating, ability to move and get around, caring for oneself, getting along with other people, carrying out life activities, and participating in societies. Again, very cursory here. I'm not going deep into this right now. And they're looking at a few different ways of how this is rated. You're still going to look at 100, 70, 50, 30, 10, or 0. So no difficulties, mild difficulties, moderate difficulties, severe difficulties, and total difficulties. In essence, this is what the rating criteria looks at. Oh, what's here? No keywords. Wow, DP, that's bad. No, it isn't, because that's how I talk about mental health as is. Speak to your condition. Speak to the areas that you're impacted. So for, let's say, a 50% rating, a score of 2 being moderate impairment, it occurs 25% or more time in one domain. What are the domains? I just spoke about them up here. Understanding, communicating, ability to get and move around, caring for oneself, getting along with others, peoples, carrying out life activities, or participating in societies, right? So one of those 6 domains. Or instances here, let's say for 70, you have a score of 3, which is severe impairment, right? That is happening in one domain, or a level score 2, which is moderate, in 2 or more domains. For 100, you have an instance of a 4, which is total impairment in 1 or more domains, or 3 severe impairments in 2 or more domains. So if you can speak to severe impairments in 2 or more domains, again, up here, whether it's carrying out life activities or participating in societies, and you can speak to that level of impairment, award the number there. If you see here, there's no keywords. So it's no more, what should I say? Say your truth. Speak to how you are impaired. And in turn now, it becomes more directed to you because it's turned into this whole keyword, this, that, the third. So what veterans do now is the current rating criteria. Well, I have this, and I have that, and I have this, and I have that, and you can't give examples to it. So the proposed changes look at you having to speak now to the level of impairment in these domains of your life. So it's not a situation where it becomes they're taking it away or it's more difficult. What do I think? I think that if you pay attention to the way we do things, you'll be fine. All the vets I work with, this is not a thing that will bother them. Why? Because this is how I speak about mental health and how I touch on mental health and how your truth is enough and you can speak to those things. So this video has gone on for way longer than I wanted to go on, and maybe a part 1, part 2 situation. I don't know. We'll see. But the moral story here is these are the changes that are being proposed. Don't buy into the hype when it's all said and done. Understand what's going on. Things are not going away. It's just change. Change is inevitable. So in true military fashion, what do? We adapt and overcome. If this is useful, tell a vet, share, subscribe, follow, all the fun stuff so we can get the proper information out there and stop listening to dumbasses.